2NURFM's Health and Wellbeing for our sponsor Mullen Natural Health Centre, Hamilton.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but in the past you've spoken about GAPS for adults, but now we're talking about GAPS for kids. So can you bring us up to speed with what GAPS is?
Yeah, GAPS is it stands for the Gut and Psychology Syndrome or Gut and Physiology Syndrome. So what I'm talking about today is the Gut and Psychology Syndrome, which is particularly for kids. So the diet was based on a low carbohydrate diet from the early 1900s. And basically the idea is that it's a comprehensive healing protocol developed by a lady called Dr. Natasha Campbell McBride, and she's a neurologist and a nutritionist, and she used the diet initially to help her child recover from or improve with symptoms of autism.
Oh, okay.
So the GAPS diet is like the go-to diet if someone's got like a serious neurological with kids, autism, ADD, kids that have severe eczema or allergies. So similar sort of things to what we look at with adults, but particularly geared around...
But while we're thinking about children who may have behavioural issues, maybe they're a little distant, a little moody in that, it could be that the gut is the cause, and we might be looking at other things.
Yeah, well, look, we always say, from a naturopathic point of view, that your child's gut plays a major role in their health and well-being, and it does affect everything. No, it's not just their digestive symptoms, it definitely affects their mental health as well. And also, things like eczema, asthma, and allergies. So we often, we've talked about that in this show before, talk about the gut as being the second brain, because it does control so many aspects of our health. And if your child has, some of these conditions that we'll talk about in a little while, then, going and seeing someone that specialises in the GAPS diet is a really beneficial step.
Now, if you have problems like the flora in the gut, say there's some troubles with that, can that be repaired? Can you help that?
Yeah, absolutely. And the purpose behind the gut basically is... GAPS basically is a condition where damaged gut flora and chemicals absorbed in the stomach affect the brain and other vital organs, creating an imbalance in the body. So the GAPS diet itself focuses on removing the foods that are difficult to digest and that are damaging that gut flora, replacing them with good quality foods to heal and seal is the terminology they use, to heal and seal the gut lining.
Is there a test you need to do to the child to work out what foods are the ones that are causing the problems?
Look, no, not for starters, because the idea behind the GAPS diet is that you go back to very basic things, and I'll talk about what some of those are in the third section today, but the idea is that this diet is also for people that have food intolerances, and because you start from a very basic starting point, the idea is that as you heal and repair the gut, hopefully those food intolerances will improve or the person will become more tolerant.
Okay.
If you think about it, like our gut does copper fair hiding, 18 to 28 feet of intestinal tract, and really... from when we're born to when we're just about dead, we're shoveling in, tons and tons of food over our lifetime, and not always food that's going to be really healthful or healing for the gut. So the GAPS diet really is the ultimate diet in giving the gut a really good rest and recovery, healing and sealing that gut wall, encourages your good bacteria, and from there, hopefully, really influencing these other neurological conditions like autism or ADD or ADHD or these, way out of control immune system problems that we're seeing with kids.
Now, we'll talk further about that soon, but before we take our break, can you tell me about the Supercharge Your Gut Summit, which was on last week?
Yeah, actually, I had the opportunity to speak with 30 other gut experts from around the world, and people can get online and check it out. It's called the Supercharge Your Gut Health Summit, and, some great information there from, as I said, the top speakers around the world on gut health. So it was a real privilege to be asked to be included in that. And, a lot of really great information about gut health. So if anyone wants to know more information, they can get on and check out.
With what they were talking about from other areas of the world, is Australia on the same page as them when it comes to gut health?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Australia's actually, we're very quite forward-thinking in Australia. Like, there's a lot of interest in Australia around, like everyone's sort of, on Facebook, like on all our social media, everyone's talking about the gut and the brain and this connection. So Australians are quite well educated, and they seem to have a real interest in and passion for natural health or natural approach to health. So, yeah, it's really exciting to see.
We love having your company for health and wellbeing. We do it every Tuesday. And we have our naturopath Peter Mullen with us. Today our topic is GAPS for kids. Just recap for us a little bit for those who just joined the conversation. What is GAPS for kids?
So the GAPS diet is a very holistic approach to healing, particularly starting with the gut. And as we've talked about on the show before, roughly 70 to 85% of the immune system lies in the lymphatic tissue that surrounds the gut. So anything to do with gut health has an effect on your whole system. Digestion, nutrient absorption, hormone metabolism, even, up to 90% of the body's neurotransmitters, those found in the brain, such as serotonin, are actually produced in the gut. So us naturopaths really think, and it's sort of becoming more commonplace, that gut health really does impact upon everything.
But it's interesting to see that match there between the psychological and what's happening with the gut, the stomach.
Absolutely, and it's sort of, coming more and more to the fore. So and it's really taking off the GAPS diet. If anyone out there is interested, get online and check it out.
Yeah.
There's some great information.
Do you have some links for that at mullenhealth.com.au?
We do have some good blogs on our website if anyone wants to get our website and have a look. So some of the health benefits of doing the GAPS diet, start with things like boosting the immunity, reduce food sensitivity. So if people have food intolerance, the GAPS diet is a great diet and protocol to heal and repair the gut and actually reduce those food intolerances. Improve neurological function, possibly help with conditions like anxiety, depression. And with kids, we're talking about improving some of the cognitive symptoms of autism and ADD. Healing inflammatory bowel disease. And we talked about this a bit with the adults. If someone's got ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease, the GAPS diet would be a really good protocol for that.
Is the GAPS diet, is that a lifestyle change completely, and once you go on the diet, that's it, you're on it?
Yeah.
Or you're only on it for a little while?
Look, it's one of those things, depending on how far out of balance your gut has been, and as we were talking about before, the gut really does cop a fair hiding with, everything that we do eat and drink and, medications and all the things that get into our system. If someone's had gut health issues for a long time, I think by the time you're starting to feel really well, I think you're happy to keep with the majority of the dietary recommendations.
Yes.
Does that make sense? Like if you've had a good improvement, you're less likely at the end of it to think, right, I'm going to go back to my old diet now that
and what
may
could
have
happen if you
contributed.
do go back. Yes.
Yeah, it may have contributed to all the issues in the first place. So things like lactose digestion can improve. The whole process supports detoxification, liver health, helps to reduce symptoms like anxiety and depression.
With the psychological aspect of it, and we're talking things like ADD and personality, could that calm down a little bit once you're on the diet?
Yeah, absolutely.
Can it settle the personality down?
Absolutely. We do a very similar diet. We use a very similar diet at work, which is kind of a low inflammatory diet, and even getting kids onto that, getting them kids off the sugar, the additives, the preservatives, processed foods generally. I find a lot of kids' behaviours will actually improve. The GAPS is taking that like another whole step further. And I'll talk in the third section, we'll talk a bit more about, what foods are actually involved in the GAPS diet, what's recommended and what foods we have to actually avoid. But
now, you are part of the farmers markets, and that's on this weekend.
Yeah, if anyone's interested, we're doing a free iridology screening at the farmers markets this weekend. So we'll have 3 of our practitioners there doing just a brief iridology assessment for people and just a bit of a taste, really, of what iridology is about.
Yeah.
And they can talk to the pracs there if they've got any burning questions as well.
And also you have a session tonight happening, a free information session?
Yeah, it's actually our last talk for the year, Dave, and it's a free talk tonight with Kate Williams. Now, Kate's one of the only, I think there's only a couple of certified GAPS practitioners in the Hunter Valley, and we're fortunate to have one of those, Kate Williams, work in our office. So tonight she's going to do a talk for us on the GAPS diet. So if anyone likes more information, they can get on and
great timing in what we're
check it out.
Speaking about today. Yes,
yeah, absolutely.
So
absolutely.
That could work well. So we'll find out more about that soon, and we'll come back in a moment with more details on GAPS for kids.
Great.
It's Health and Wellbeing. Peter Mullen is with us today. Let's continue to talk about GAPS for kids, and we'll talk about some of the things that are involved in the diet, if we could.
Yeah, so to start with, and there's a couple of phases with the GAPS diet. There's the introductory phase, which is fairly restrictive, and then there's the secondary phase where you start to introduce more food groups. So again, that introductory phase can go for a few days, a week, a couple of weeks, a month, depending on how unwell someone is. So what's great with the diet is you can really tailor it to suit the severity or what you're dealing with.
And what are some of those foods that we will be avoiding when we're on the diet?
Well, you're basically, number one is processed foods. All grains and cereals are recommended to avoid, particularly in the earlier stages. processed sugar.
Yes.
So sugar in any form, really, starchy carbs, and even potatoes. So initially, there's a reduction of things like carrots and sweet potato, but particularly white potato. Artificial chemicals and preservatives, so any additives and preservatives, and conventional meat and dairy products. So in her book, Dr. Campbell McBride's, she sort of recommends to try and buy foods in the form that nature made them and as fresh as possible, which is pretty good common sense.
And what are the GAPS diet legal foods?
Well, the following foods are sort of recommended as part of the introduction GAPS diet, and that's bone broth. Everyone's going a bit crazy about making bone broth and chicken stock or chicken stock, chicken broth rather, steamed non-starchy vegetables. And bone broth's great because it contains a lot of the nutrition to help heal and seal the gut. Because when you think about it, like what's really important for the gut wall's made up of protein and fats. So you want good sources of proteins and fats in your diet. Steamed non-starchy vegetables, organic wild meats.
Right.
So pasture-fed, you're definitely not grain-fed. Fish, preferably wild caught. Egg yolks. Certain fruits, and also avocado as well.
Right.
The avocado is seen as a good fat. Healthy fats are sort of, they talk about a lot of healthy fats such as coconut oil and ghee, as well as olive oil.
Yes.
And for any cooking, they generally recommend cooking with coconut oil or ghee because it has a lower or a higher flash point, whereas olive oil can burn.
Yes.
A lot earlier on. So even generally, we recommend to our clients look into coconut oil and ghee. Probiotic rich foods, which we'll talk about a little bit in a moment, and good quality sea salt as well.
Okay, well, let's talk about those probiotic foods if we could, please.
Well, the probiotics, so one of the things recommended is to be sure to include like a tablespoon of raw fermented vegetable juice like sauerkraut juice with meals, as they contain the vital enzymes to assist digestion of the meats. Some other suggestions: fruit should be eaten on their own, and I'm a bit of a fan of this anyway.
Yeah.
The old naturopathic approach was called one of the early approaches was called what was it called?
I don't know.
I'm having a mental blank.
You're telling the story.
What was it called? Isn't that terrible?
We'll revisit that.
Well, basically, fruit should always be eaten on its own.
Yeah.
So what you don't want to do is have a meal and then have fruit afterwards, because fruit digests, it's got a different digestive pattern, so it digests pretty quick. So fruit on its own, ghee and coconut oil best for cooking. They recommend slowly adding in the probiotic-rich food, so not initially. Initially with this diet, it's really about trying to heal and repair the gut.
Yes.
And then as you go, adding in, your sauerkraut, your well-fermented yogurt, and by well-fermented, I mean yogurt that's been fermented for 12 to 24 hours. Like most of the store-bought stuff's only fermented for 4.
Mm-hmm.
Kefir is another fermented like yogurt-type product. And it's recommended to take a cup of warm meat or fish stock with every meal as a drink, as well as, using it to make your soups and stews. So it's kind of all about like that old-fashioned style of cooking. Slow-cooked foods, stews, using the stock as a base. So it's actually quite a good diet. Like once you get through that initial phase, the food can be lovely, and there's heaps of research, like heaps of recipes and things available to make it easier to stick to.
Now, if we would like some more details on this very topic, you have some spare seats available tonight for the free information session?
Yes, we do. We have a couple more seats, probably only 2 or 3 seats available tonight if anyone would like to come along. And we also have some great information on our website if people would like to get on and download the blogs on.
You've got some great
the
blogs there,
diet.
mullenhealth.com.au.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. This is the last information session for the year tonight?
Yeah, it'll be our last night tonight. We're I can't believe it's getting so close to Christmas.
Quick, yeah. Well, thank you for today, and talking a little bit about GAPS for kids. We'll follow up on that topic too.
Yeah, absolutely, and we'll give you some, as we get more kids coming through and getting onto the diet, it'll be good to report back and see what sort of results we're getting.
Thank you for today. You won't be with us next week. Who will we have next week?
Carly will be coming in next week. I'll be on holidays for a week.
We'll catch you in 2 weeks' time then.
Fantastic. See you then.
There you go. Naturopath Peter Mullen with us. Health and Wellbeing at 2 in your RFM.